Hey, heathens. I am probably going to piss some people off with this one. But this is how I see it. It's the way I look at it. You're just going to have to accept that. Remember, I end with, don't take my word for it, think for yourself. So if you disagree with me, that's fine. I just finished watching the Thunderfoot versus Ray Comfort mini part series. It's about an hour and a half long, and they had a long discussion about a plethora of topics. In my opinion, on a whole, is that they try to cover too much in too short of a period of time, and it made all of the parts lack severely. Let me save you an hour and a half if you haven't already watched them. Okay? It's 90 minutes of Ray Comfort saying God did it, and 90 minutes of Thunderfoot. I hate to say this, and even though it's non-consequential to what he, his arguments and all that, I understand, but still, it's 90 minutes of Thunderfoot stuttering. We're all used to Thunderfoot being this eloquent speaker because he is fantastic in his videos. But live, he struggled to get rolling. Now, his points that he made were valid and that sort of thing, and that was all good. But to someone who is not of an atheist persuasion, watching and not knowing who he was, they would look down upon what he was saying because of that, and that was a bit disappointing. But anyhow, getting back to the actual thing, some of the weak parts I thought was that one, Thunderfoot didn't take Comfort to task on all 10 commandments. He took him, he hit a couple of them, but I think he dodged the one that he had the best setup for prior to it, and that's the Sabbath commandment. Everything about what Ray was saying, lent itself to that. I won't go into details. You guys can, I'm sure plenty of people will do deeper rebuttals. That's not what this is for. I'm going to try to do something relatively quick for a 90-minute review. Ray's response to some of the other questions that were brought up from Thunderfoot. Thunderfoot says, so does God cause it to rain? And Ray said, yeah, so God did it. And he said, so it has nothing to do with water vapors rising up and all. They said, oh, well, that's how he did it. So he just inserted God into everything scientific that Thunderfoot tried to present to him. The other thing that I had a problem with how Thunderfoot handled it was Ray would ask him a question, and in preparation to make sure he didn't get caught in a corner, Thunderfoot resisted answering honestly. For example, there was one point where Ray asked Thunderfoot if he thought, what did he ask him? He had asked him if he thought it was screw it, I don't remember. Anyway, he asked him a question. The answer was no, and Thunderfoot did eventually say no. But he backed up from it for a while and tried to qualify his no. Screw it, say no. They were talking about morality and is it moral to do this? I don't remember the details. It doesn't really matter. Now, where Thunderfoot I thought did his best is when they started talking about evolution, and obviously that's his strong suit with his scientific background. They started going in there. He started going after it, and he really he laid out this speciation example of salamanders along the coastlines, and I really think that Ray showed his not just ignorance but willful ignorance, where he refused to understand what was being presented to him. Even though he agreed with everything Thunderfoot was telling him, he refused to understand that was evolution, and that is what drives the whole process. So I thought that was the strength that Thunderfoot threw out there. They started to get into the Bible, and I thought that would probably get better. They probably should have pushed that a little bit more. Here is where I think Thunderfoot failed, though. Scientists are great at science. Salesmen are great at selling. Thunderfoot is a scientist. Ray Comfort is a salesman. Now, he would probably disagree with me about that, but that's fine. This is what I mean. Ray Comfort dominated the conversation, much like a very good boxer will dominate the pace of a fight. When they want it to speed up, they make the fight speed up. When they want it to settle down, they make the fights, slow down. Ray Comfort was able to direct the conversation how he wanted to. Thunderfoot did okay in certain spots where he said, no, let's go back to this, and they did, but Ray certainly had control of how the conversation flowed. That comes from his years of experience of doing this and knowing how to manipulate that. Thunderfoot tried to point out the manipulation tactics and never really addressed it well enough that Ray picked up on it. And that comes from something completely separate. You have to understand that if you're going to get through to some of these people, you have to make them see outside of their own perspective, and that is one of the most difficult things to do. And I'm not saying that anyone could have done it, so I'm certainly not faulting Thunderfoot for not being able to get Ray to understand that he was using psychological manipulation in his tactics. Ray doesn't see it that way. He sees it as he's preaching the truth. But, he is still using emotional ploys to try and sell people on this idea because he knows it works. And, trial and error has given him that idea that, this works better than other things, and so he keeps doing it. So, on a whole, for the discussion, to be entirely honest with you, I thought it lacked a lot of the build-up that I expected it to have. I really expected there to be more of what was brushed upon and didn't go into deeper, and instead I had a lot of philosophical stuff thrown at me where Thunderfoot tried to talk about the philosophy of man and how we come to think like we do, and Ray saying, yes, but the Bible says, and so you had a lot of God did it versus, here's what we think happened. And with the fact that Thunderfoot was happy to acknowledge that, there are certain things that are simply unknown, Ray used that to his advantage. Who won? Call it a draw. I don't think Ray ever made an actual point, so you can't give it to him. But Thunderfoot, with everything that he said that was accurate and on target and everything else too, didn't make a dent into Ray because he didn't really call him out on certain parts of the discussion he tried to throw out there. He never called him on the fact that he just referred to God did it, and instead of asking for empirical knowledge. He came close many times, but he wasn't able to get through it. And I think that is, again, goes back to the fact that Ray is good at controlling the conversation. He's a salesman. That's what he does. And he does it well. I give him full credit for that. I will give Ray Comfort one other piece of credit. I saw a thing that they had on the Way of the Master site where he was interviewed, and they talked about the fact of how little money he takes from the ministry, which, say what you will about that, whether or not it's true, I don't know. But if it is, I commend him for at least not being a hypocrite in that aspect. That it's not about, he doesn't do it for the money, but obviously he has to make a living and he wants, his family to do well. And I don't fault him for any of that. And in this exchange, he did make himself out to be a nice guy. So while he is utterly ignorant and willfully ignorant, I don't think he's a bad guy. But anyhow, that's the way I saw the whole thing going down. If you want to check it out for yourself, certainly go ahead. I did enjoy it, and I hope they do it again, and I hope they go into a little bit deeper of the details. And I think Thunderfoot will be better the second time around. This was something that I think was new to him, this type of clash, but I don't know. But don't take my word for it. Think for yourself.